Hi dear viewers. Today I will discuss with you the very fantastic book Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman. In his book Amusing Ourselves to Death, Neil Postman argues that the shift from a culture based on the printed word to one based on television has transformed American public discourse into a form of entertainment, fundamentally altering how we perceive truth and engage with the world. Below is a detailed explanation of the book's core arguments and concepts. 1. The core argument: Orwell versus Huxley. Postman frames his argument by comparing the dystopian visions of George Orwell, 1984, and Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. Orwell's fear. Orwell feared an externally imposed, oppressive state that would ban books and deprive people of information. Huxley's fear. Huxley feared a society that would become so captivated by technologies and distractions that people would no longer want to read or care about the truth. The conclusion. Postman contends that Huxley's vision was more accurate for American society. We are not being oppressed by a big brother, but rather are amusing ourselves to death through a bottomless appetite for distractions. 2. Media as epistemology. A central concept of the book is that media as epistemology means the form of a medium determines how a culture defines and acquires truth. Print epistemology. In a typographic, print-based culture, truth is tied to the written word, which demands logic, sequence, and a high level of abstraction. It requires the reader to follow complex arguments and possess a long attention span. Television epistemology. Television, by contrast, is a visual medium that prioritizes images over words. It demands instant gratification and emotional response rather than rational contemplation. Consequently, it creates a new truth-telling, where being amusing is the primary requirement for any discourse to be taken seriously. 3. From typography to television. Postman traces the historical shift in American communication. The age of exposition. During the 18th and 19th centuries, America was a typographic society where public discourse, even in politics and religion, was serious, rational, and based on the written word. The telegraph and photography. These technologies began the shift by introducing decontextualized, peekaboo, information, bits of news from far-off places that had little relevance to the recipient's daily life. The age of show business. Television perfected this trend, making the image the primary way of knowing. In this era, even serious subjects like news, religion, and politics are packaged as show business. 4. Now, this, and the fragmentation of reality. Postman uses the phrase, now, this to describe how television news fragments our sense of reality. Lack of context. This phrase, common in news broadcasts, signals a complete break in topic and tone. A report on a horrific tragedy might be followed immediately by a cheerful commercial for a consumer product. Incoherence. This constant shifting prevents any subject from being treated with depth or seriousness, leading to a sequencing of information so random as to be incoherent. 5. Impact on public institutions. Postman argues that every major institution has had to adapt to the entertainment requirements of television. Politics, image management, and camera appeal have replaced ideology. A candidate's ability to appear sincere or glamorous on screen is more important than their actual policies. Religion. Televangelism turns religious experience into a spectacle designed to attract a large audience, often stripping it of its historical and theological complexity. Education. Educational shows like Sesame Street teach children to love television rather than to love school, fostering a need for constant stimulation that traditional classrooms cannot provide. 6. The proposed solution. Postman is not optimistic about fixing television, as its nature is inherently to entertain. Instead, he suggests media consciousness. People must become aware of how television, and all media, shapes their thinking. Education's role. Schools should move away from simply using computers or TV as tools and instead teach students how to demythologize media, helping them understand the politics and epistemology of the information they consume. How do you think about it? Please share your ideas in comment section, and thank you so much for listening and watching.